The village of Okuta sat at the edge of a land no one dared to cross. To the west of the huts and clay paths stretched a forest so wide, so dark, the elders simply called it the endless bush. No one entered it after sunset. Not the hunters, not the brave young men who tested their manhood with lion hand, not even the warriors who carried charms on their belts. Why? Because the forest was not empty. It was alive and it was hungry. On certain nights, when the moon rose blood red, like the eye of a wounded spirit, the drum began. Nobody knew where they came from. No drummer were ever seen. No festival was ever called. Yet the deep thundering sounds rolled across the ground, shaking the earth and crawling into the bones of anyone who listened, dumb, dumb, dumb. Children cried in their mothers' arms. Men spat into the fire 3 times to chase away bad luck, and the elders whispered old sayings that were older than the ground itself. When the bush drums, it is not for dancing, it is for blood. That night, the air was too heavy to breathe. Smoke from the cooking fires rose straight into the sky without moving, as if even the wind was afraid. Goats refused to enter their pens. Dogs tucked their tails and howled at nothing. Then came the whispers, low at first like the rustling of dry grass, but soon clear. Voices, dozens of them, men and women, children and old ones, all speaking at once, but no words could be understood, just a chorus of broken tongues, rising and falling like waves of madness. The villagers shut their doors, bolted their windows. Nobody dared look outside. Nobody except Ayo, a boy with eyes too curious for his own good. He pressed his face to the crack of his hut door, and what he saw froze his blood. Shadows were moving through the village, but they were not cast by moonlight. They were not tied to anybody. They were shadows walking on their own, slipping across the ground like snakes, stretching, twisting, crawling up the walls of huts. One of them stopped at Ayo's door. It had no face, no body, just darkness. Yet somehow he felt its eyes peer straight into him. The shadow tilted, as if listening. Then a sound came from it, a laugh, but not a laugh of joy, a laugh made of broken bones and empty graves. Ayo stumbled back, heart pounding. His grandmother, who sat by the fire chewing bitter kola, grabbed him and hissed, "Foolish child, do you want it to hear your soul? When shadows walk without bodies, it means the cursed clan has awakened." "The cursed clan?" Ayo whispered, trembling. The old woman spat into the fire. "Long before we were born, before the stones of Okuta were laid, there was a people who thought themselves gods. They drank blood, they called the spirits of the dead to serve them. They built shrines of bones and carved masks that were not meant for human faces. For their evil, the earth swallowed them into the bush. But every century, they rise again, hungry for what was taken, the souls of the living." The drum pounded harder, shaking the roof. The whispers rose, now screaming like 1,000 throats crying at once. And from the forest came the first figure, tall, wrapped in tattered cloth, a mask covering its head. But the mask had no mouth, no nose, no eyes, just a black hole where a face should be. It carried a staff made of human spine. The cursed masquerade had returned. The villagers who dared peep through cracks swore later that its feet never touched the ground. They swore that with every step it took, the shadows of children lifted from the heart, struggling and screaming before vanishing into its mask. And in that moment, young Ayo realized one thing. The forest was no longer waiting at the edge of the village. The forest had come for them. The night after the masquerade appeared, silence fell on Okuta like a curse. Nobody dared speak of what they had seen. But silence is never safe, because silence is when fear grows teeth. Ayo could not sleep. He kept seeing those shadows peeling away from the ground, those dark arms snatching children's laughter straight out of the air. His grandmother prayed, and poured palm oil at the threshold, whispering to the ancestors. But the air inside their huts still felt wrong, as if 100 eyes watched them from the thatch roof. By dawn, the news spread. 3 children were missing, no footprints, no broken doors. Their mats were empty, as if they had simply stood up in the night and walked into the forest without opening the door. The mothers wailed, tearing their wrappers, rolling in the dust. The fathers sat in silence, their jaws clenched, knowing there was nothing their strength could do against spirit. The elders called the gathering at the great tree in the center of the village. Okorie, the oldest among them, spoke with his voice shaking like dry leaves. The cursed clan is awake. They will not stop. The bush will not rest until it swallows more of us. We must sacrifice or we must fight. But how do you fight shadows? The people argued. Some said to run, to abandon Okuta and flee across the river. Others said to make an offering of goats, palm wine, and kola to appease the masquerade. But Ayo, foolish, restless Ayo, felt another fire burning inside him. He remembered the way the masquerade had tilted its head, as if listening, as if inviting. That night, while the villagers kept their lamps burning and their doors locked, Ayo slipped out. He was not alone. Udo, the blacksmith's son, followed him. Nia, the herbalist's daughter, followed too, and little Kofi, who carried nothing but a slingshot, came whispering after them. Are you all mad? Nia hissed. If our parents find out, they won't, Ayo said. Don't you see? If we sit and do nothing, the forest will eat us anyway. Maybe if we see what hides inside, we can stop it. The others were afraid, but Ayo's words planted a seed in them. So they walked toward the endless bush. The moment they stepped across the first line of trees, the world changed. The air grew thick, pressing against their skin like hot smoke. The trees leaned in, their branches twisted into shapes that looked like hands frozen in mid-course. The ground was soft, too soft, like the forest floor was breathing beneath them. Then came the sound, not drumming this time, whispering, thousands of whispers crawling into their ears. The voices spoke in languages none of them knew. Yet somehow, the meaning was clear. Turn back, or stay forever. The children shivered, but they walked on. In the distance, a faint light flickered, not the warm light of a torch, but a cold glow, green and pale, like moonlight trapped in water. They followed it until they reached a clearing. At the center stood a shrine. It was built of bone, skulls stacked in towers, ribs tied together with dried sinew, femurs planted into the ground like fence posts. Strange symbols burned into the bone, glowing faintly, crawling like worms across the surface, and there, hanging from a tree, was a mask, not carved from wood, not made of clay. It was made of skin, human skin, stretched and dried, with holes for eyes and mouth that dripped black liquid even though it was dry. The children froze. The mask seemed to breathe. Then it spoke. Welcome. The voice came from nowhere and everywhere. The ground shook, the skulls clattered. From the trees, figures began to step out, tall, thin, their bodies bent and broken, yet they moved as if pulled by invisible strings. Their eyes burned like coals in hollow sockets. The corset clan. Ayo grabbed Udo's arm. Don't run, he whispered. If we run, they'll chase us. The tallest of the figures stepped forward. Its jaw hung loose, broken, yet when it spoke, the sound was clear. You have entered our home, and in our home, shadows do not belong to you. They belong to us. The children looked down, and with horror they saw it. Their shadows were gone. The firelight from the shrine stretched across the clearing, but no shape followed their feet. No shadow clung to them. The Kosa clan had stolen them. Nia began to scream. Kofi dropped his slingshot. Udo muttered a prayer. But Ayo clenched his fist because he realized something terrible. If the forest already owned their shadows, there was no turning back. The endless bush had claimed them. The four children stood frozen before the shrine of bones, their shadows stolen, their hearts pounding like trapped drums. The Cassette clan surrounded them, tall and crooked, their eyes glowing red through hollow sockets. The air grew colder. Even the insects of the forest fell silent, as if the night itself refused to breathe. Then the mask hanging from the tree lifted, not by wind, not by hand. It rose slowly, turning in the air as if unseen fingers carried it. The mask of human skin tilted, its empty eyes staring straight into Ayo's soul. The black liquid dripped from its mouth onto the ground, hissing as it burned the grass. A deep voice rumbled through the clearing, shaking the bones of the shrine. Who enters the circle without an offering? The Cassette clan bowed their crooked heads, as though the mark itself was their king. The children could not speak. Their tongues were heavy, but the mask waited. Finally, Ayo whispered, his voice trembling, "We are children. We only came to see," the voice finished for him, mocking, "to see the secrets of the dead, to taste the silence of the forest. Foolish children, curiosity is a door, and doors open to punishment." The bones of the shrine rattled as if laughing. Then, from behind the shrine, it stepped out, the masquerade. It was taller than any man, wrapped in layers of black cloth and raffia that dragged along the ground. Its mask was not wood or skin. It was something darker, something older, carved from a stone that looked like it had drunk blood for centuries. Its eyes were empty holes, but inside them, something moved, something alive. When it lifted its arms, the Cassette clan swayed, their bones cracking with every movement. Udo grabbed Nia's hand. "We should not have come." The masquerade's voice boomed again. "Your shadows belong to us. Without shadows, you are half empty. Half empty children are easy to feel. Tonight, you will be remade." The Cassette clan began to chant, low, slow, in a language that tasted like ash in the air. Their voices scraped like rusted metal. The shrine's bone tower shook. The skulls clicked their teeth together, and the ground opened, a crack, splitting the earth beneath the children's feet. From the gap rose a smell of rot, of wet graves, of blood, long dried but never forgotten. The children staggered back, but the masquerade raised his hand, and the forest itself obeyed. Roots rose from the ground like snakes curling around their ankles, holding them in place. Nia screamed, pulling at the roots, but they only tightened, biting into her skin like teeth. The mask laughed. "Do not fight. The bush does not take permission. The bush only takes." Ayo struggled, but his heart told him something strange. The masquerade wanted more than their bodies. It wanted their fear. It was feeding on it. He forced himself to shout, "Why us? Why now?" The masquerade lowered its stone face. "Because your people broke the pact." The Cassette clan roared in unison, their voices like thunder mixed with screams. Long ago, the masquerade explained, the villagers of Okuta made a covenant. Every century, one child was to be offered to the forest, not killed, but given, body and soul, to serve the Cassette clan. In return, the forest would leave the village in peace. But 100 years ago, the people of Okuta refused. They tricked the masquerade with a goat's blood and the mask of a dead thief, pretending it was a child. They broke the circle, and now the bush had come to collect its debt. The masquerade lifted its staff. The human spines clacked, each vertebra moving like the tail of a serpent. "You four have walked willingly into the circle. You will pay what your ancestors denied." The Cassette clan stepped closer, their hands stretching long and sharp. The air screamed with whispers. The children felt their shadows struggling inside the darkness, crying out like trapped birds. Just when the Roots began to drag them toward the crack in the ground. The drum beat came. Dum, dum, dum. But this time, it was not the cursed drum. It was Baba Musa, the old traveler, the wandering griot, with his walking stick and calabash drum, had followed them. He stood at the edge of the clearing, his drum under his arm, his stick glowing faintly with carved symbol. His voice was calm, but it cut through the madness. Spirits of the broken pack, listen. The blood of these children is not yours to claim. Their shadows are stolen, but their souls are still free. Release them or face the fire of truth. The masquerade turned, its stone mask cracking with fury. Oh man, you are nothing, you are dust. Baba Musa struck his drum once hard. The sound echoed like thunder. Damn! The Corsair clan staggered back, their chanting breaking. The roots loosened, hissing like snakes burned by fire. The masquerade east. You cannot fight us with a drum. You think you can trick the bush. You think shadows cannot tell lies from truth. The gold burned to ash in its hands. The shrine cracked. The Corsair clan screamed, their bodies twisted into hideous form, bound forever to hunger and hatred. The vision ended. The clearing shook with the weight of what had been revealed. Nia covered her face, trembling. Our ancestors lied. They cheated the spirits. Kofi whispered, that is why they are after us. That is why they want our lives. The masquerade's hollow eyes burned. Yes, the debt is unpaid. You four will pay it now. With your blood, the circle will close. The cursed clan advanced, their fingers long and sharp as spears. Their mouths opened, spilling ash and fire. But Baba Musa's drumbeat cut through the chaos. Dum, dum, dum. His voice rose like a storm. Number. The debt belongs to the father, not the children. You will not feast on the innocent. The masquerade roared, lifting its staff high. Then give me your life, O griot. Let your blood flow in place of theirs. The children gasped. Baba Musa smiled faintly. If that is what it takes, I will. He struck the drum once more. His body began to glow with the same light as the carvings on his staff. His shadow stretched, splitting into many shadows. Warriors, hunters, spirits of old. They stood beside him, ready to fight. The cursed clan screamed, their voices shaking the trees. The masquerade stepped forward, fury boiling in its hollow mass, and in that moment, the children understood. This was no longer just a battle for them. This was a battle for every soul the forest had swallowed, for every lie their ancestors had told. The forest demanded blood, but Baba Musa was ready to pay. The clearing trembled as though the earth itself was afraid. Baba Musa stood tall, his drum glowing with fire, his staff burning with ancient signs. The cursed clan hissed, their bodies stretching taller, their claws clicking like knives. The masquerade stepped forward, its mask tilting, its hollow eyes endless. You cannot end this, griot, it thundered. Every story dies, every drum breaks, but blood remains. Tonight the pact is written again, in flesh. It raised the staff of spines and slammed it into the ground. The crack split wider, spilling red light as if the earth below was filled with rivers of blood. From the gap, hands clawed upward, hands without bodies, pale and writhing, reaching for the children's legs. The children screamed. Roots twisted around them once more, dragging them toward the opening. No! Baba Musa roared. His drum boomed. Dum, dum, dum. The sound shattered the bone shrine. Skulls flew apart, the empty eyes bursting into sparks of light. The cursed clan staggered, howling. Shadows broke loose, swirling in the air like torn cloth, then rushed back to their owners. Ayo gasped as his shadow snapped back beneath him, trembling like a frightened animal. The others felt their shadows return too, but weak, faint, as though the forest still held them by the throat. The masquerade howled with fury. Its mask cracked down the middle, spilling black smoke. You dare defy us, O man? Then give your blood in their place. It raised its staff to strike. Baba Musa's eyes closed. He whispered, "Let it be mine, but let them live." The children cried out at once. "No!" Ayo shouted. "You can't!" Nia sobbed. "We'll fight too!" Udo roared. Kofi held a small slingshot high, even though his hands shook. The masquerade laughed, a laugh that shook the forest. "Children cannot fight shadows. You are food." But Baba Musa smiled, faint but strong. "Children are not food. They are seeds. Seeds grow, even in the darkest soil." He struck his drum one last time. Boom! The sound was not just a sound. It was a wave of light. It burst through the clearing, tearing at the Kasset clan. Their bodies split into smoke and ash, their screams echoing like storms. The crack in the hearts closed with a thunderous slam, trapping the riding hands below. The masquerade staggered, its stone mask crumbling, its staff breaking into pieces. Black smoke poured from its body, riding like snakes. It screamed, a sound so sharp it cut through the children's bones. But even as it broke apart, his voice thundered one last curse. "This circle will never end. Blood calls to blood. If not tonight, then tomorrow. If not you, then your children. The forest waits. The forest remembers." With that, the masquerade burst into ash and vanished into the night. The clearing fell silent. The Kasset clan was gone. The shrine was dust. The tree stood still, as if nothing had ever happened. But Baba Musa lay on the ground, his drum shattered, his body still. The children rushed to him. His eyes flickered open, faint light glowing in them. He smiled weakly. "Do not cry. Every story must end, but you must carry it, tell it, remember it. If you remember, the forest cannot win." His hand trembled as it touched the broken drum. Even broken things still echo. Then his breath left him, soft as a sigh, and he was gone. The children wept, but as the dawn light touched the trees, they felt something strange. The forest was still, no whispers, no drums. For the first time in living memory, it was silent. They carried Baba Musa's body back to the village. The people wailed and mourned, but they also bowed their heads in awe. The old griot had given his life to protect them. Yet that night, when the moon rose, Ayo could not sleep. He lay on his mat listening, and deep in the distance, from the belly of the forest, came one faint sound. Dum. Then silence. The forest was waiting. The village of Okuta buried Baba Musa beneath the old baobab tree, where the ground was thick with roots and stories. Women sang mourning songs, their voices rising like smoke into the morning sky. Men beat slow rhythms on hollow drums, a beat of respect, a beat of farewell. But the children, Ayo, Nia, Udo, and Kofi, said nothing. Their eyes were wide, their hearts heavy. They had seen what no child should ever see. They had walked where no living soul should walk. And though they stood among their people, a part of them was still trapped in the shadows of the endless bush. The elders told the people that the curse was broken, that Baba Musa's sacrifice had closed the circle. They told the mothers to stop weeping, the fathers to rest easy, the children to laugh again. But at night, when the fires burned low, whispers slithered through the cracks of the huts. At first, faint, like leaves brushing together, then clearer, voices, countless voices. "Are you awake?" they asked. "Do you remember?" they asked it. "Do you still have your shadow?" they asked. Ayo lay frozen, his eyes open in the dark. He turned his head slowly and looked to the floor. His shadow was still there, coiled against the wall, like a sleeping child. But for a heartbeat, just one heartbeat, it smiled back at him. Nia woke one morning to find black stains on her palm, stains that smelled of smoke. She washed her hands in the river, until her skin bled, but the smell never left. Udo began to hear the drums in his dreams. Not loud, not yet, just a slow, distant heartbeat. Dum, dum, dum. He woke sweating, his eyes darting to the forest. Kofi the youngest carried his slingshot always. He shot at every crow, every shadow, every shape in the night sky. But he never told the others why. That sometimes he saw faces in the trees, watching him, waiting. And then, one moonless night, the forest moved. Not the wind, not the branches, the forest itself. The tall trees bent forward, leaning toward the village, as though the endless bush had grown restless. A voice, low and ancient, rolled through the earth. The blood was given, but the hunger remains. The villagers woke screaming. Fires burned high, drum beat wildly to chase away fear, but the whispers did not stop. The forest had tasted shadows again. It had swallowed stories again, and once the forest feeds, it never sleeps. Even now, when the moon is full and the wind carries no sound, some say you can hear it. Dumb, just once, enough to remind you that the circle never truly ends. And if you walk too close to the edge of the bush, you might notice something strange. Your shadow might not follow you home.